2000 Camry strut replacement. I'm Brian Eslick from How to Automotive, and today I'm going to walk you through the process of changing the front struts. You get started by racking the car up and removing both front wheels. Now that we have the wheels off, we're going to take this 12 millimeter bolt here that holds the brake line off. Right here is a clip that holds the ABS sensor. Just clip that out of the way, leave it attached, and then we're going to remove the sway bar link in from the strut right here. If you're lucky, when you take the sway bar off, you use your 14 millimeter with an impact gun or an air ratchet and it'll come off. But a lot of times these will spin, and what you'll have to do is use an Allen on the end of it, a 5 millimeter Allen on the end of the stud here, and back it up with a wrench and take it off like that. Okay, the next step is to remove the two 22 millimeter bolt here, nut and bolts here, and remove those. On some cars, the strut is adjustable, adjust the camber on the cars, but on this particular one, this has no effect on the adjustment, so you don't have to worry about marking it or putting it back in any particular position. It only goes on one way, so just remove the two bolts. So now that you get the bolts out, you just kind of push the strut in and separate the spindle from the strut. And now you're going to lower the vehicle down. And now that you got the car down, you're going to remove the 3 bolts on the strut tower here. One of the thing is, on your last bolt, before you take it out, you want to hold the spring assembly with one of your hands and take the last bolt out and catch the strut. It's going to want to fall down, and if you let it fall, it could hit the CV boot and cut the boot open. So as you take out the last bolt nut here, you want to catch the strut and don't let it fall out of the car, and then just fish it out. I'm using my Brannick spring compressor here. So what you do is you set it in here, and these arms adjust back and forth, and you center it. You want to get it centered in the center of the spring compressor here, and you may have to adjust the, see, like it makes it a little crooked, so you adjust it till everything's as level as can be, you know, and square it up all the way around. Once you achieve that, then you want to slide your little ears in and put it on the top of the spring strut bearing here. And you want it to be as center as you can, symmetrical as you can get it. So then you'll compress the spring. And I like to use a little vice grip to clamp the actual spring to the ear here. What that does is prevents it from twisting off like a corkscrew. It'll spin out like that, so that prevents that. And then, so you compress it by screwing in the screw jack on the top, and you're going to do it until you see the spring come off the perch here. So when the spring is free like that, and you can twist the strut around and move it around, then you're free enough. Now what we're going to do is, with an impact gun, we're going to remove the center nut. Now that we have our strut off, we need to transfer over the rubber boots and the bump stops. So slip our bump stops off, and just kind of keep in mind which way these came off with. So after transferring all of our hardware here for the strut, we're gonna slip it back up inside the boot here, and then we'll start the nut. We'll always use a new nut. Sometimes I've seen people use the old nut, and they have this little nylon thread in here. If you use the old one, it can back off. And so use the new nuts that come with the strut. So after you put the strut in, you want to tighten your nut until it bottoms out and tightens all the way up. And you'll know, because it'll try to twist the, once you bottom out, it'll try to twist it, but don't keep hammering on it to twist it. You can hammer on it again once it's back in the car to do a last minute torque on this. So now you want to spin the strut until the spring has this little groove where it sits in, and line that up. And then once you got that lined up, then you're going to release the pressure of the spring by screwing it counterclockwise. And you may have to move it around a little bit and guide it as it goes back into place, and guide your rubber boot and everything. So now your spring and strut assembly is reassembled and it's ready to go back into the car. Also wanted to pay attention when you do these is They have a left and right strut. So this one's marked R for the right side because the sway bars are mounted on this side and the brake hardware is mounted on the right side of it. So pay attention to that. So now we're just gonna, with one hand, fish it up into the to the strut tower here and line the bolt holes up. And with your other hand, reach over the top and start one of the bolts. So when I stabbed these, I had to put the tail in first at an angle like this, and then rotate the top in, and then slide it up. And now we're gonna lift the car back up and put the bolts back. So now after we got the strut bolted in, we're gonna we need to line up our spindle here. Now it may be crooked or whatever, but so you can twist it a little bit in any way you want, and then you can. What I like to do is lift it from the bottom of the rotor, lift it up like so, push it in with your with another hand, your left or right, and push it in, and then start a bolt. And if you have a helper bar, that actually works out really well. And start the bolt. I always try to be mindful of which way the bolts came in and out, and try to go back the same way. I don't really think it'll matter on this particular one, but this is how I operate. So I got the bottom bolt started first. Now you can take your hand on the top of the rotor, push in, and then you can line up your top bolt and slide it through. So now that you got these tightened down, I used an impact gun to tighten them down. Next is to put your clip back together that holds your ABS wire in here. Okay, after clipping your ABS clip back onto its little place where it goes in here, put your 12mm bolt that holds the brake hose back on. Reassemble your sway bar link in on here and tighten that down. Now everything's done and complete. Just put the wheel on, torque the wheel down, and go for a test drive. This is Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'd like to remind you guys to subscribe and check me out on Facebook at Facebook/How To Automotive. And once again, it's my pleasure sharing my experience with you guys. Thank you.